So I'm obsessed with SuiteDash, as you guys hear probably every video that I say that. But I wanted to do something different this year. I wanted to be intentional about how I show you guys SuiteDash. SuiteDash has been such a great system to play around with, to learn. And now that I'm a sensei, I gotta make sure you guys stay interested, okay? So I'm gonna be doing a series specifically on how to understand each section. And then at the end of it, we're going to actually have a come together moment. All right. And we're going to put things together in a space where you can say, oh, so this is what the calendar did. This is what the email marketing did. But that is the goal, for you to learn everything and make it feel like you're doing it for yourself, for your business, and you can teach other people. Now, as you jump into this video, I do want to just say thank you for watching my videos. Please leave feedback and also allow me to just know more about you. So tell me about your business, about what you want to learn, and I'll be happy to show and teach and do all the things. I look forward to hearing all of it. All right, bye. Hop into the video.
Welcome to another video. Of course, I had to do it this way because I realized that a lot of people don't know about the individual modules. And so within the series, you're going to learn all about one set module and all the possibilities around that module so that you can have a deeper understanding of how SuiteDash flows together. If you have not watched any of my other videos, please take a moment to pause and go watch them. I am going to be very intentional about sticking to one section. So if you do have questions, feel free to send a comment or even email me directly. Let's get into calendar. So calendar is specific to your connected source of either your Gmail or maybe even your Microsoft, because that's pretty new now. So the first thing I want to do is take you to the flyout menu that's at this top right, and we're going to go over to integrations. So in this integration, you want to make sure that you have your calendar set up. I have Gmail, so I utilize Gmail majority for everything. There are key things that you want to know. This is two-way sync. However, you can only connect one calendar at a time. And what that means is you have to choose one. And when you do choose one, you want to make sure that you refresh the data. And once the data is refreshed, then you'll be able to see it sync automatically. And take note that you can only sync this once a day. The same thing occurs for Microsoft Office, and they are actually doing a lot of integrations as well. So you can connect your Microsoft account and go ahead and select one calendar and simply sync it. Going over to the calendar module, you want to take note that there are 5 different options in here. My calendar is going to be the synced calendar that I just synced. And if you do see any of these pop-ups, it's just because they are sending us little notifications throughout the system, and you can mark them as closed if you want to. Now, inside the calendar, you have different views that you can see. The default is going to be by week, but you can also see by month. I like by week because it gives me a deeper drill. But if you wanted to see it by month, you simply could just toggle here. And then if you wanted to specifically look for any statuses, because calendars does link with projects and projects have tasks. And so you can look for a status that is available here. Ones that you create can also be added here as well. Or you can look for priorities. So you can also set a priority to a task. And then you can look again against any project or any user. So I'm the only user in this account, and therefore I can see any other user's calendar as well here. And of course, you can search by month. So at top here, you're going to see similar to the right or the left side, the same tabs that you can click into. We are currently inside of my calendar, and I accidentally clicked onto the default availability. But essentially, on a calendar, you can click anywhere and you can assign a task. A lot of times people ask, can I have a task simply for myself that prevents me from assigning it to any contact? Yes, you can. This is a private task. So this task itself is assigned to me as a super admin. I can title this. I can also make this private, meaning that it's only visible to me. I can set a duration. I can set a time, a description. I can add tags. I can be as fancy as making sure that it's setting a priority, a type, as well as a status, a start date, an end date, and I can also make this reoccurring. The recurring days does not show up as you think it may. It will show up once the day is completed. So each time that the day is completed, it will pop up on the next day of your calendar. You can also include any of the subtasks, the followers, and the due dates on this as well. I love doing it this way because it just makes it so much easier. But if you wanted to also assign it to a team member or even a client, you can do that same from here as well, and it will get assigned to them from this calendar. You can set it by date, and you literally can click on any date and do the same thing. One of the things that I love as well is that if you're already working in a task, you can link it to a user or assign it to that user and then link it to a task specifically, and it would also do the same thing. Let's hop over to the appointments. So appointments are essentially types that you can make specifically similar to like Google appointments or Calendly. You can make appointment types and you can essentially have them to be set either by yourself or you can set them or a team member can set them or maybe a client can set them. And so these appointments are all going to be based on your availability, and which we'll speak about in a second. But you want to just notate that every appointment will first need a contact. So if I click directly on that time base, it's going to say, hey, you got to first choose a target. And targets, contacts are interchangeable. I don't have any targets in here currently, so there's no target for me to click it against. But if there were, I would be able to click on that target and then be able to add a time. What I also love about this is that you can be able to see at a week time and you can change the time zone because maybe you're setting an appointment for someone in Africa and you wanted to set it accordingly, you can do that as well. The other thing that I love as well is that if you had more appointment types here, you can select the appointment type that you would want them to schedule, and then you can be able to set that accordingly as well. This is a very easy thing to also note because all of your appointments that are scheduled will be added here. You'd see the appointment type, the host, and that means the host can be yourself or even a teammate, as well as the attendee. And then you can see the date and time. You can see the duration, the status. So if it's scheduled, confirmed, all the things, linked, and then you can see options. Going over to appointment types, the difference here is that this is where you create appointments. So an appointment type in itself is simple as just hitting this add appointment type button. And once you do that, you can then add all of the details. It's fun to set up because you'll just put the name of the appointment. You can have a public description that will be displayed when someone clicks on the appointment itself. You can set a message that pops up right after the appointment is booked. And you can even make a fun button text. So maybe if you wanted to be like me and just say, schedule that, or, let's go, whatever that is, like you can go ahead and just put that in there. I also like to take note that there is a way for you to create the appointment on behalf of someone else. You can always choose who you're creating the appointment for. And you can also be notified as well when a new person has booked this appointment. So if you wanted to add yourself as well as the person you're creating it for, you can do that. Now, one thing I love about SuiteDash is that they create the opportunity for style, okay? As you can see, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the background and all the things that I'll talk about later, but you can color this appointment type to being either your brand color or just playing around with it to make it fun. And you can add its own icon so that people can easily identify it. What I also want to notate is that the appointment can be visible to all or it can be hidden to a set amount of groups. So you will see the word circle a lot inside of SuiteDash, and that's how you can control visibility. And with circles, you'll have the ability to simply say, I only want it to show to certain people, or maybe you want it to show to everyone, but you want to hide it from certain people. So you have that flexibility here, which I really love. And when you hit save, let me make sure I filled everything else out first so you guys can see what this look like. So this is going to hit save. And when you hit save, it takes you back here and it marks it as inactive. that's not you completing the task, okay? You actually still have to do a couple of things, and I'm going to tell you about the options. So if you go to edit, editing just brings you back where you started. So it gives you the ability to do all the things, except it adds another element of automations. So in the beginning, it didn't show you these automations, but when a appointment is booked, you can set an automation to do something. Of course, automations are so fun because you can do anything from converting them to a client to sending them an email to send them a text message or an invoice or all the things. You can even do webhooks and also API. If they reschedule, you can do the same load of automations. If they cancel, you can do the same load of automations. And when the call is complete, you can do the same thing as well. Instead of me going back and hitting save, I'm going to actually hit save and continue and keep editing, which is what I could have pressed in the first half of me actually setting this up. And I did that purposely so you can know that that save and keep editing keeps you into this space of just allowing you to continue to edit. And then you'll have the ability to do all of these other steps on this right side. So what you'll see again is styling. So you can change the styling here. You can also connect the schedule. We'll speak on schedules later. And then you can also have an event generator, which you can connect, which we'll speak on later. You have notifications, which you can customize per the actual email. And I love this because maybe you want your staff to see something else than your actual target will. And if you have Twilio connected, you can also customize the SMS that goes out as well as the emails. I find that so valuable because a lot of times you want to customize how, your energy is. Like for my energy, it's always, hey, what's up? Thank you so much, bringing that vibe, that boom boom. But a lot of people want to just use that vanilla, the actual template that's already created, which is perfect as well. You have the ability to limit availability. So you can have the features of look busy, which makes I want to say it's like a fluff for your appointments. So it basically allows you to have like a certain availability slot, and it makes you look as if you have a busy schedule when really you may not have a busy schedule. But I think a lot of people do that so that they can, have like this pull, but I don't really know. It's a marketing tactic, I'm sure. Then the baseline availability is fun because you can adjust these per appointment. And so doing this per appointment means that you're able to simply say, I'll meet from 9 to 2:10, and then I may not meet on Tuesday. I can actually remove that altogether. But then maybe you want to have two windows. So maybe you want to have an earlier window and then you want to have a later window. So you can do that as well on any of the days, which is also fun. And then scrolling down, you can also update your appointment minutes, so the duration of the appointment, the padding. And if you're not sure what a padding is basically saying how much time do you need before and after your meeting. I like to do at least 15 minutes in which you can, because for me, it's like maybe the meeting is going to run over a little bit, so I don't want anyone to schedule directly after. But I also like the padding of 30 minutes because it gives you that extra woosah moment, which is always important. And then you have the intervals of when they can schedule. So if you like to do like 9:15s, 9:30, 9:45, that's what that is. If you want to do 30 minutes, then it's going to be 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock, things like that. Prep time is always going to be fun if you want to see, like maybe someone can't schedule a time about a day before. You can do that as well, and you can do it up to the minute. Like maybe they can't schedule a call a minute before. Like it's just timing that makes sense to you. And then the future availability can only go up to a maximum of 180 days, but you can schedule that out so that people can see your calendar up to 180 days. And then you have the auto create meetings. Now, I want you to just sit for a second and realize that this is probably the most important part if you are doing video conference calls. You have to trigger this because it will then allow you to connect your Zoom or your Google Meets if you have Google Meets natively, or your Microsoft online meeting, which includes, your Microsoft team. So once you do that, it's pretty much like your way to get that URL link inside of that confirmation email. And that's the whole vavoom. That's the whole point here. Like you want to just make sure they don't have to do anything crazy, and you already have a schedule with a URL for them to meet. If it's a phone call, you do not have to have that set up. It's just a setting for video conferencing. The last thing you want to do, and you can see again, all the options are here. The last thing you want to do is set it as active to make it a live, effective appointment. So if I were to go back to appointments, then I'd be able to simply click on that appointments, and I can now see those two options in which I can click one and it can allow me to select all the things. If I go back, I can select the other one. As you can see, this one I did place an icon and this one I did not. And this has a description, whereas this one doesn't. So that's kind of like the baseline difference. And you either have a description for yourself or you can see the description as well for when someone clicks it. All right, jumping back over here. When you're making appointment types, if you are a person that knows that all of your availability is going to be the same, you have the option of either taking the step of duplicating this, or you can simply just set your default availability. And then once you set up, the next appointment type is also going to default to what we're going to set in a second. The last thing I want to notate here is that you can always mark something inactive if it's not a relevant meeting anymore, instead of deleting it, because maybe it becomes relevant later down the line. So you can always reactivate it if needed. Let's jump over to the default availability. So similar to what you saw in the appointment type section when setting up one appointment, you were able to do that for that one. However, this default availability is for all of them in general. So this will not take effect in any of the old ones that you do, but it will take effect in any of the new appointment types that you create. So just keep that in mind. You can do everything from the windows to the days to the minute down to the availability times to the padding. And so that's the best way to do this. I also like to notate as well these three buttons at the right. You can do as well the biggest thing of um, just being able to just schedule the reminders. So as a default, you maybe want to have two reminders for email. So you can have like the days that you want them to be reminded, like what two days before, and then at the time maybe you want the SMS to be sent out a certain time too, so you can do that as well. So this is for the this is specifically for the reminders for the appointment for you, and this is for the target. And then you can have the event notifications to be set up as well as the Outlook email notifications as well. So all of that is great to set up pre, and then we're here at this block availability, and you have different windows that you can set as well for, let me show you, like different times. So maybe you're taking a vacation on like Christmas, right? So you can set that with the appointment type. So you can say, all right, I am not going to be here. So you can say out of office. And instead of doing it on your calendar, you essentially are blocking it here, which gives you the ability to just schedule it all out. All right. And clicking this little ribbon here allows you to save it, and then you can close it. Lastly, the defaults of your settings, which you're going to see over here as well, is when your week starts. Some days for business owners start on Sunday. Some days start on Monday. Mine starts on a Sunday, I guess, because I like to start on the day of the week, which is appropriate, I guess, for me. So that's what you can set up there. And then you have these settings. The settings are about just making sure that these default values matter to you. So you can enable or disable the appointments for staff. So maybe you don't want to see it, you can do that. And then maybe you want to see it just on one area, right? So you can set that up as well. Again, you have the availability type defaults where you can essentially have auto blocks for certain places. You can auto create the button for that message for that appointment, or even the message for that appointment as well. You can do that. And then you have the reminders that you can default here if you wanted to, which again, I think it's great to do so that you could be able to have the understanding that your staff will get reminded at a certain time, and then the automation for the actual target will get automated at the same time. And then this can apply for all the future um, and existing appointments if you wanted to do that. And then the calendar defaults, just as we spoke about, you are able to change the first date. And these little question boxes on here are so helpful because it allows you to see the little tidbits of what this is focusing on. Speaking of tidbits, I love the Lifesaver at the top. So if you ever needed some help and you're confused about a section inside of the calendar or anywhere in the system, look out for that Lifesaver. It does take you to a help doc, which is accessible on in the platform itself, and you can just scroll through, you can look through. And I love this because it gives you all the details of what you want to know, and it doesn't take you outside of the platform. It keeps you in, so you're navigating in real time. Of course, you can always make it a little bit wider so you can see the padding changed a little bit, but you can close it when you don't need it. That is calendars. It was very easy, very fun, and don't worry, I'll have all the other videos coming very soon as well. So if you enjoyed this one, reach out, send a comment. But I love that you're here and I love that you're just setting up Sweet Dash. So happy streamlining.